He said it so simply, like he was asking me to pass the salt. "Sell your ring, Mom. We need the money for the mortgage." I didn't answer right away. Not because I didn't hear him. I heard every word. Every syllable landed clean and hard, like hail on a tin roof. I just looked at him, my son, standing in my kitchen, in the same spot where he used to ask for apple slices and a bedtime story. Now he stood tall, impatient, shifting from foot to foot, like I was some stubborn cashier holding up his line. "It's not just about us," he went on, misreading my silence. "The kids need stability. You know how this economy's been. And that ring, it's just sitting there." He gestured toward my hand, my left hand, the one that hasn't been without that ring for 41 years. Thin gold band, worn smooth in places, still firm around my knuckle. I didn't wear it for show. I wore it because it belonged. Because when Henry put it on my finger in 1978, he didn't say anything fancy, just, "Let's build something." And we did. A little house, a lot of love, and one child who used to hold my hand like it meant something. Now that same child stood in my kitchen asking me to trade memory for money. "Adam," I said finally. He straightened up a little, expecting maybe gratitude or at least agreement. I said, "You want me to sell your father." He blinked. "What?" "That ring. That's not gold, it's him. It's who we were. It's every dollar we saved when I worked extra shifts at the library. It's the man who built your first treehouse with a hammer and 3 good fingers left. You want me to pawn that so you can keep your 2-story porch?" He didn't like that. His face shifted. Annoyance first, then embarrassment. I saw the flicker in his jaw. "I'm not saying it to hurt you," he tried. "I'm saying it because we're in trouble. Real trouble. Kim's lost her job. The bank's on our back. We're 32 days from foreclosure. The mortgage payment's over $5,000 this month. If we don't cover it, it's gone. You bought that house 4 years ago. Yes, and you helped us with the down payment. And you said it was temporary, that you'd refinance, that it was a family investment." He looked down, like the tiles under his feet had answers. "And now you want more," I said, quiet. "Mom." He stepped closer, his voice softer. "It's not more. It's a loan. You can sell the ring, we cover the month, and when Kim gets back on her feet." "Stop," I said, and he did. I went to the sink, turned on the tap. Not because I needed water, but because I needed noise. Something to fill the air between us that used to be full of things like laughter and ordinary joy. I stared out the window. My little backyard, the faded garden bench, the wind chimes that hadn't chimed right since last fall's storm. I said, "You want to know what I think, Adam?" He waited. "I think you made choices, big ones. Big cars, big vacations, big rooms you don't even use. And when it goes wrong, you turn to small people. Old people. The ones who you think won't say no because you share a last name." His silence was answer enough. "I'll think about it," I said, because I needed him to leave. He nodded once, as if the door was opening. "Thank you, really. It would mean everything to us." He kissed my cheek. Not like a son, like a client closing a deal. Then he left. I stood alone in that kitchen, staring at the sink. Water still running. My hand went to the ring. I twisted it, not to take it off, but to feel its weight. It was still there. Still mine. That night, I placed it in its velvet box, closed the lid, and beside it I laid a piece of paper with a name and a number, Peter Langley, foreclosure specialist. I had met him once at the credit union when I'd helped a friend navigate a reverse mortgage. Next morning, I called Peter. "Peter," I said, "are you still buying distressed debt?" He said he was. "Good," I replied, "because I know a house in Bellevue Pines. Owners are 32 days behind. I'd like to make an offer on their mortgage." He hesitated. "You're interested in acquiring the lien?" "I am." "Is it family?" It was. We made arrangements to meet. I wore my plain coat, my steady shoes, and the brooch Henry gave me for our 30th. I met Peter at the corner of Riverwalk and 8th, just 2 blocks from Adam's house. "I thought we were meeting the ring buyer," Adam said when he saw us. "You are," I said calmly. "Only he's not buying jewelry. He's buying something else." Peter stepped forward and handed Adam a folder. It was the formal notice. The foreclosure had been purchased. By me. Adam opened his mouth, but I didn't let him speak. "I sold nothing," I said, "but I did buy something. My patience ran out." He didn't speak, just stared at the paper like it was written in a language he no longer understood. I watched his face shift. Confusion first, then comprehension, then something harder. Not anger, worse. The look of a man who realizes he has no control left, not even over the story he's told himself. Kim came out onto the porch just then, still in her robe. Her hair was pinned up and wet from a shower. She looked from me to Adam to Peter, then to the folder in Adam's hands. "What's going on?" she asked, stepping closer. Adam didn't answer. He handed her the paper instead. She scanned it quickly. I watched the moment it landed, her lips parted, one hand flying to her chest as if to hold her heart in place. She turned to Adam. "You told me the bank needed more time. You said you were handling it." He didn't look at her. His eyes were on me now. "You bought the mortgage," he said. "Why?" I didn't look away. "Because I got tired of being the one thing you counted on, but never respected. Because I was done being the soft place you fell whenever you tripped over your own ego." "That house is our life," he said quietly. "No," I said. "That house is a series of choices you made, without thought, without caution, and certainly without me. Now I've made a choice of my own." Peter spoke then, calmly, like a man used to hard conversations. "You're still within the reinstatement period. You have 30 days to pay the full past due amount, plus fees. If you do, the note returns to you. If not, the foreclosure process moves forward." Kim looked like she wanted to throw something. At Adam, maybe. At the sky. "You knew this was coming," she hissed. "I thought I could fix it," Adam muttered. "No," I said. "You thought you could guilt me into fixing it. Again." He didn't argue, didn't defend, just stood there, the folder slack in his hands. "I'll give you both time," I said. 30 days. That's more than fair. More than I've ever gotten." I turned to leave. But Kim spoke up. "You're doing this out of spite," she snapped. "You could have helped, but instead, you want to punish us." I paused. "No," I said over my shoulder. "If I wanted to punish you, I'd have done nothing. Let the bank take the house. Let strangers walk through your bedroom. This gives you a chance. It also gives me something you've never allowed me to keep." "What's that?" she shot back. "Dignity." I walked to the car and got in. Peter followed, polite and silent, until we'd pulled out of the driveway. "You all right?" he asked gently. "I will be," I said. "I'm just not used to being the one with the leverage." He smiled faintly. "You handled that better than most." "Did I?" I asked. I didn't feel calm. "Calm isn't required, just clarity." At home, I hung my coat by the door and stood for a long time in the hallway. It was quiet, the kind of quiet that usually made me feel invisible. But today, it felt different. Less like silence, more like space. I boiled water, poured tea, sat in the kitchen, both hands wrapped around the mug. 41 years with Henry, 12 years since he passed, 36 years of working full-time at the library while raising Adam mostly alone. 100,000 decisions made in favor of everyone but myself. And now, finally, one for me. I pulled the ring box from the drawer, opened it. The gold caught the light, steady and familiar. I slid it back onto my finger. I wasn't angry, not exactly, just awake. That night, Adam didn't call. I didn't expect him to. The next morning, I got dressed and went to the bank. Sat down with my advisor, Helen, who raised her eyebrows slightly when I explained the mortgage purchase. "Interesting move," she said, typing something. "What do you plan to do with the property if they don't repay?" "Live in it, maybe," I said, sipping the free coffee. "Or sell it. Or turn it into a boarding house. I haven't decided yet." Helen smiled. "Not your usual tone?" "No," I said. "But then again, it's not my usual year." On the way home, I stopped by the grocery store. Bought what I liked, not what Adam's children preferred. Chicken thighs, not breast. Plums instead of those gummy fruit snacks they never finished anyway. I paused near the toy aisle, but kept walking. No need to buy favors anymore. Back home, I sorted the pantry, made space. Not just in cabinets, inside too. Then I sat down with pen and paper. At the top, I wrote, "What I owe." Beneath it, nothing. 2 days later, the envelope arrived. It was thick, heavy, marked confidential. I knew what was inside before I opened it. Peter had warned me it would be coming. The full mortgage file, every detail of Adam and Kim's loan, every missed payment, every fee, every signature. I sat down at the kitchen table with my reading glasses and a yellow pad of paper. The house was quiet except for the slow tick of the clock and the sound of my pen uncapping. The first thing I noticed was the balance, $528,443.12. I had to read it twice to be sure. They owed more now than they'd originally borrowed. The second thing I saw was how many times they'd refinanced. 3. Once for a kitchen remodel, once to pay off credit cards, and once, this one only 6 months ago, to consolidate debt. But looking closer, it wasn't consolidation. It was cash out. They'd pulled money from the house and spent it. I flipped through the documents slowly, line by line. Kim's name was on everything. Adam's too. My name, of course, was nowhere to be found. Not even on the down payment record. Even though that had been my money. $40,000 wired from my account. I remembered the day clearly. How Kim had said, "It'll be a legacy. Something to show the kids one day." I'd believed her. Now I knew what they'd built with that legacy. Overdue statements, unpaid taxes, luxury furniture from catalogs I couldn't pronounce. The last page listed the foreclosure timeline. I had 28 days before the process could legally advance. 4 weeks to decide what I wanted. I stared at the calendar. Then I drew a thick black circle around the date. Next, I called the city assessor's office, asked for the property's estimated market value. "Roughly $490, the man said. "Maybe $510 if it's in good condition." "So they owe more than it's worth?" "Technically, yes. That's not unusual these days." Not unusual, but it felt personal. I made another call, this one to a man named Travis Gill, who ran a small home repair company out of town. He'd helped me redo my back porch last year. Reliable, discreet. I asked if he could inspect a property with me. Just a walkthrough, I said. I want to know what I'm dealing with. He agreed. We set a date for the following Monday. That evening, I made soup. Not because I was hungry, but because I needed the routine. Chop, stir, simmer. Something about the order of it helped clear the static in my mind. The phone rang once, then again. I let it go to voicemail. It was Adam. The message was short. Hi, Mom. Just wondering if we can talk. Let me know. I didn't call back. Instead, I sat down with a pen and made a second list. At the top, I wrote, what I've given. The list went long: college tuition, summer camps, emergency dental work for the twins, birthday checks, Christmas envelopes, groceries, babysitting, furniture, the SUV down payment, and, of course, the house. I stopped at 27 items, not because I was finished, because I was tired. I folded the paper once, then again. Slid it into the drawer where I used to keep school photos of Adam. When Monday came, I dressed simply. Dark pants, soft sweater, flat shoes, practical, clean, respectable. I met Travis outside the Bellevue Pines house just before noon. He arrived in his dusty truck, toolbox in hand, a clipboard under one arm. He looked at the house, then at me. You're serious about taking this on? I'm serious about knowing what I'm owed. He nodded. Let's go. The house looked the same from the outside. Perfect siding, cheerful wreath on the door. But inside, the shine dulled. Scuffed baseboards, a leak under the kitchen sink, a crack in the master bathroom tile. Nothing major, but enough to show that things were wearing down. Normal wear, Travis said. Neglect, more than anything. We spent 45 minutes walking through. He took notes. I stayed silent. As we left, I looked back once at the upstairs window. I could see the corner of what had been the nursery. I remembered painting it lemon yellow, back when they still thought I was part of the future. In the car, Travis said, "You gonna rent it out if they walk?" "Maybe," I said. "Or sell it. Or let it sit empty for a while." He glanced over. "You okay?" I nodded, just thinking how quiet the world gets when you stop begging to be heard. That night, I made tea. Wrote a letter to myself. I didn't date it. Didn't sign it. Just wrote, "Next time they ask for help, remember this. Silence is also a decision." The lawyer's office smelled like paper and old carpet. Not unpleasant. Just the scent of things handled too many times. Forms, contracts, promises. Mrs. Lee, my attorney, wore a gray cardigan and a look of mild concern when I walked in. "You've made a significant move," she said after I explained. "I know," I said. "That's why I'm here." She laid the documents out carefully. Deed of trust, assignment of mortgage, lien holder rights. I'd already acquired the debt through Peter, but now we were finalizing the legal shift, making me the official lender of record. The papers were clean, binding, quiet. "You understand," she said. "You now hold full power. If they fail to pay, you can proceed to eviction or foreclosure. It's your asset." I nodded. "I'm not rushing anything. I just need things clear." She glanced at me. "You want clarity, but do you want justice?" "I want peace," I replied. "If justice follows, that's a bonus." I signed. One page after another, my signature neat, firm, not trembling. When it was done, she handed me the complete record. One thick folder, everything in black and white. I placed it into my bag like it was a loaf of bread. Ordinary, necessary. Outside, the wind had picked up. Early spring. It couldn't decide between warmth and chill. I stood on the sidewalk a moment, watching cars pass. People going about their days, never guessing what kind of decisions get made in buildings like that. Back home, I made lunch, ate slowly. Then, against my better judgment, I called the financial service number listed on the original loan documents. I gave them the account number, my account number now, and asked for a detailed payment history. The woman on the phone was polite, efficient. "I'm emailing you the full ledger now, ma'am." It arrived in under a minute. I opened it. Page after page, line after line. They'd missed 8 payments over the last 2 years, not 3, as Adam claimed. 8. They'd paid the property taxes late every year since they moved in, accruing penalties that now totaled over $4,000. The insurance premium had bounced 3 times. Their escrow account had been drained to cover it. And something else. Something that made my stomach turn. Last September, they'd taken a personal loan from an online lender, $20,000, collateralized against the house. Collateralized was the word the document used. He hadn't told me, not once. Instead, he'd come into my kitchen and looked me in the eye and said, "We just need 1 month's help. 1 month. 1 ring. 1 more thing to give." I closed the laptop slowly. My tea had gone cold again. There are betrayals that scream, and there are betrayals that whisper. This one whispered. That evening, I received a text from Kim. "Adam told me you've made things complicated. I hope you'll reconsider before this turns ugly. For the kids' sake." I stared at it for a while, then typed a reply. Deleted it, typed again. Deleted again. Finally, I put the phone down. Let her sit with her words. I opened the file folder and pulled out the foreclosure authorization form. Blank. Untouched. I slipped it into a smaller envelope, labeled it contingency, placed it in the safe where I kept my birth certificate and Henry's will. Then I sat down with a new notebook, a blue one, clean pages. At the top, I wrote, "What I know now. They lied. They hid. They expected silence." I underlined the third one, and below that, "I don't owe them protection from consequences." That night, I slept. Not well, but uninterrupted. It was a start. The sky was overcast when I pulled into the cul-de-sac. That pale, muted light that makes everything look faded. Lawns, mailboxes, even the pride on people's faces. Adam's house sat at the curve like it always had, oversized, over-leveraged, and overestimated. I parked on the street, not in the driveway. That mattered. Peter arrived 2 minutes later, right on time, dressed in the same dark coat he wore when we met at the bank. He carried a folder and nothing else. "You sure?" he asked, voice low. I nodded. "Just do what we agreed." We walked up together. I rang the doorbell, 2 quick taps, like I always had. Familiar, but different now. It was Kim who opened the door. Her eyes landed on me, then flicked to Peter. She didn't hide the calculation. "What now?" she asked, folding her arms. "Good morning," I said. "This is Peter Langley. He's here to see the house." She blinked. "Excuse me? I told you I'd be back with a buyer. You assumed I meant for the ring." She stepped outside, closed the door behind her. Her robe was gone. Now she wore a crisp blouse and makeup, but her eyes were puffy, tired. "You're not serious." "I am." "This is harassment." "No." "This is called responsibility." The door opened again. Adam. He stopped mid-step when he saw Peter. "Who's this?" Peter extended a hand. "Mr. Moore, good to meet you. I'm here to tour the property. Your mother informed me of the foreclosure situation. I specialize in pre-auction acquisitions." Adam didn't shake the hand. You're trying to sell our house? Not yet, I said. But I own the lien, and the payment window closes in 24 days. I'm weighing my options. Adam turned to me, voice low. You can't be serious. I am. We have children. I know. And you're just going to, what? Throw us out? No, I said. The bank would have done that. Quietly, without warning. I've given you something they wouldn't. Time. Kim muttered. Unbelievable. Then went back inside, slamming the door. Adam stayed. You're trying to humiliate us. No, I said. I'm just refusing to be humiliated. We stood like that for a few seconds, neither moving. I looked at his face. The lines deeper now, the jaw set, but still the same boy who used to break things and hide the pieces under his bed. Peter cleared his throat. Shall we? Adam didn't stop us. Didn't say another word. Inside, the house smelled like lemon cleaner and something artificial. Vanilla, maybe. That sharp, performative scent people spray when they want things to seem better than they are. We walked through slowly. Peter took mental notes, didn't touch a thing. The walls were freshly wiped, but the baseboards hadn't been done. The carpet had a few wine stains. Upstairs, the hallway light flickered when we passed. Master bedroom, new bedding, expensive. Guest room, storage overflow. Kids' room, untouched, a fortress of plastic and clothes. In the kitchen, Peter said, Good bones, but you can tell the cash ran out. I can tell, I said. Back outside, Peter asked, Want me to make a formal offer? Not yet, I said. I'm not in a rush. He nodded. Let me know. He drove off, and I stayed a few minutes longer, just sitting in my car. I watched the house, watched the curtains move. Someone was watching back. I didn't care. At home, I wrote another line in my notebook. They thought fear would keep me quiet. Then I opened my laptop and searched local listings for homes under foreclosure. I bookmarked 3. Not because I needed them, because I wanted to remember I had choices too. That night, the phone rang. Adam again. I didn't answer. 2 hours later, a text came through. If you do this, there's no coming back. I stared at the screen a long time. Then I typed, slowly. You said the same thing when I wouldn't co-sign your second loan. I came back anyway, but I never left myself this time. I didn't hit send. Not yet. The envelope was hand-delivered. I paid extra for that. No certified mail, no polite warning. A process server in a navy jacket walked up their pristine walkway at 8:12 a.m. on a Tuesday and rang the bell. The notice wasn't dramatic. It was precise. Legal. A formal demand for payment and notice of intent to proceed. Standard language, non-negotiable terms. 21 days to cure the default in full. If not, repossession procedures begin. I didn't watch them receive it. I didn't need to. I knew the timing. I knew their routines. Kim would be getting the kids ready for school. Adam would be finishing his coffee, checking his phone, pretending everything was fine. But by 9:07 a.m., my phone rang. Adam. I didn't answer. At 9:11, a second call, then a text. You sent someone to the house? What the hell is this? I put the phone down, took a sip of my tea, and turned a page in the newspaper. Let him sit in it. By noon, another message. Can we meet? Just you and me. Please. I responded with a single sentence. Put it in writing. At 3, a knock at my door, not a text, not a call. A knock. I opened it to find Adam standing there, shoulders tense, eyes tired. Can I come in? No, I said calmly. We'll talk here. He hesitated, then nodded, stepping back onto the porch. He looked at the rose bush beside the steps. You trimmed it back. Looks good. I didn't ask you here to talk about roses. He nodded. I read the papers. And? He swallowed. It's serious. It always was. We don't have the money, Mom, not all of it. I said nothing. But I can get some. Maybe half. If I can get an extension. You've had extensions, I said. Years of them. Just because they weren't written down doesn't mean they didn't happen. He exhaled. So what? You're really going to go through with this? I already have. He shifted, stuffing his hands in his jacket pockets. What do you want? You want us to beg? No, I said. I want you to take responsibility. I want you to stop using guilt like currency. I want you to stop expecting me to bleed every time you open your mouth. His jaw clenched. This is going to ruin us. No, I said. This is going to reveal you. We stood there a moment, the wind catching between us. You told the kids I'm doing this? I asked. He looked down. I figured. He didn't defend himself. Just rubbed his brow like the truth gave him a headache. I'm not the villain here, Adam. You're acting like one. No, I'm acting like someone who finally woke up. He looked at me, and for a flicker of a second, I saw something real. Confusion, maybe even shame. But it passed. Can I at least have until the end of the month? You can have what the law allows, I said. Nothing less, nothing more. He stared at the floorboards. We trusted you. No, I corrected. You depended on me to stay silent. There's a difference. He turned to go, then stopped halfway down the steps. Is this revenge? He asked. I didn't answer right away. It's a boundary, I finally said. You've never seen one from me before. That evening, I wrote a new line in the blue notebook. 5. Protecting your peace will be mistaken for cruelty by those who benefited from your silence. I underlined it twice. The first phone call came from Lorraine. She always was the neighborhood echo, never the source, but quick to carry the sound. She didn't waste time with greetings. Is it true? I cradled the phone between shoulder and cheek, folding towels from the line. You'll have to be more specific. About Adam, the foreclosure, that you bought the debt. People are saying. I let her trail off. They're saying you're evicting your own son. I placed a towel into the basket. That's not accurate, but you're not denying it. No, I said. I'm just correcting it. I'm not evicting him. I'm letting the process follow its natural course, same as the bank would have. The only difference is, the bank would have done it quietly. I gave him notice. She exhaled, long and loaded. Sil, you know how this looks. I do. And you're okay with that? I picked up the next towel. I didn't ask for approval, Lorraine, just honesty. There was a pause. I don't agree with how you're doing this, she said finally. But I also know Adam and Kim. That was as close to support as I was going to get from her. By evening, the ripple had reached further. An email from Joan, who used to knit with me every Thursday before her arthritis got bad. She wrote 2 lines. You deserve peace. Don't let anyone steal it. Then a message on the church bulletin board app from Mrs. Cartwright, subtle but clear. Praying for unity in your family. Sometimes grace matters more than justice. Grace, that word again. Always offered to the ones who created the mess, never to the ones cleaning it up. I didn't respond. The next morning, I saw someone slowing their car in front of my house. Not a full stop, but enough to make it known. A dark SUV, familiar. Kim's friend, maybe, or a neighbor from Adam's street. They didn't wave. At the grocery store, the checker, Paula, a kind girl with too many rings, smiled cautiously. Big week, huh? I tilted my head. I just saw something online. About you. The house. I nodded. I suppose it's easier to talk about me than clean your own front step. She didn't know what to say after that. Just rang up my cabbage and eggs. At home, the mailbox held a single letter. No return address. Inside, one printed sentence. You should be ashamed. No name. No signature. Just the kind of cowardice that wears perfume and clicks send. I didn't tear it up. I folded it, placed it in the same drawer where I kept the first mortgage check I wrote for Adam 12 years ago. Proof of the gap between what's given and what's returned. That evening, Eloise came by, Kim's sister, unexpected, holding a Tupperware of something warm. Don't slam the door, she said. I'm Switzerland. I opened it wider. Fine, but no diplomacy speeches. She stepped in, placed the container on the counter. I don't know who's right. I don't know who's wrong, she said. But I do know this. You've been funding their life for a long time, and maybe it's about time someone else paid the bill. I poured her tea. I didn't come to take sides, she added, just to tell you, not everyone thinks you're a monster. I smiled faintly. That's a relief. I wasn't planning on growing horns just yet. She stayed an hour, talked about nothing, about everything. It was the first time in weeks the house didn't feel like a verdict. When she left, I wrote a new line in the blue notebook. 6. The people who whisper about you don't pay your bills. Or your price. I looked out the window. The street was quiet. But my name was everywhere now, and that was fine. Let them say what they want. I finally had something they didn't. My voice. I started with the hall closet. Old coats, scarves no one wore, boxes labeled Christmas and Misk filled with things that hadn't been touched since Henry passed. I didn't do it out of spite or sadness. It wasn't a purge, it was a clearing, a way to make the silence in the house honest. I pulled each item out with both hands, folded slowly, sorted into piles. Keep, donate, discard. The rhythm helped. One motion after another, one drawer, one shelf, one memory at a time. The guest room came next. I hadn't opened it in months, not since last Thanksgiving when Adam's kids slept there. Their pillowcases still had faint traces of blue glitter from some craft project Kim had packed along. I stripped the bed, washed everything, and left the mattress bare. The room felt bigger that way, lighter, like it was waiting to be repurposed. I boxed up the toys they'd left behind. Half-broken robots, a book with juice stains, puzzle pieces missing corners. I didn't toss them. Not yet. Just put them away in the attic, out of sight. In the living room, I dusted the mantel. Family photos lined the shelf, some in frames, some tucked behind others like they were hiding. I took down the picture of Adam's wedding, set it face down in the drawer. Not out of anger, just readiness. I left the photo of Henry, always him, still him. By late afternoon, the air in the house felt different. Not cleaner, not fresher, just mine again. I made a small pot of soup, ate at the table with both elbows resting on the surface. No one to scold me for manners, no one to impress. Halfway through the meal, the doorbell rang. Not loud, just 2 short notes. I opened the door slowly. It was Rebecca, alone. She stood there in her school uniform, backpack slung over one shoulder, a mix of worry and hope on her face. I just wanted to see you, she said quickly. Dad says I shouldn't, but... I stepped aside. Come in. She dropped her bag by the door like she always had. I didn't believe them, she said as she sat down. When they said you were being cold and cruel, I mean, yeah, it's a big deal, but they've taken so much from you, and you never said a word. I'm saying it now, I said gently. She nodded, eyes fixed on the bowl of soup. You hungry? She nodded again. I ladled her a bowl. She ate in silence, the way children do when they're trying not to cry. You don't have to choose sides, I told her. This isn't a war. It's a boundary. Rebecca looked up. I just don't understand why they can't see it. Because they don't want to. Seeing means admitting. She finished her soup and helped me wash the dishes. Didn't ask to stay. Didn't make promises. Just hugged me quietly at the door. You're not alone, she whispered. I know. When she left, I returned to the guest room and opened the window. Fresh air pushed into the room in slow waves. I stood there a long while, letting it pass over my hands, my face, my chest. I wasn't grieving. I was reintroducing myself to silence. Later that night, I lit a candle. Not for ritual, just light. And in the blue notebook, I wrote, 7. Letting go doesn't mean you stopped loving. It means you started respecting. Yourself, most of all. I closed the notebook. The house was still, but it didn't feel empty. The call came from a number I didn't recognize. I let it go to voicemail. 30 seconds later, a text arrived. Mrs. Moore, this is Ellie from Bellevue Pines HOA. I'm not sure if you're aware, but the tenants at 214 Brookhaven had a domestic incident this afternoon. Police were not called, but neighbors heard shouting. Just a courtesy note, since the property is now legally under your name. I reread the message twice. 10 minutes later, another message. From Eloise, Kim's sister. Kim left, took the kids, don't know where yet. Adam's a mess. I stared out the window. The wind was low, sky still gray. But the air felt tighter than usual, like it was holding its breath. I didn't feel triumphant, just unsurprised. That night, I made myself a cup of tea and sat in the kitchen, lights dim, radio off. Silence again. But this time it felt loaded, like something waiting to arrive. I didn't wait long. Just after 8 p.m., another knock on my door. Adam. Alone. His eyes were swollen, collar open, the desperation no longer hidden under politeness. She left, he said, as soon as I opened the door. I didn't speak. She took the kids, packed up their things while I was at work. No note. Just gone. He waited for a reaction. I didn't offer one. Her sister told me, he added. And she said I made this happen. I stepped outside and closed the door behind me. The porch light buzzed softly. I didn't ask her to leave, he said quickly. I didn't yell at her. Not really. Just raised my voice. But she was already half gone, you know, since the letter came. He sat down on the steps without waiting for permission. I don't know what to do, he muttered. She won't answer. The kids, I miss them already. Still, I said nothing. You could stop this, he finally said, turning to me. You could call it off. Let the loan default go. I could sell the house quietly. Start over. Get an apartment. It doesn't have to end like this. He looked up at me. Please, Mom. Don't let this be what breaks us. I sat down beside him. Quiet. Side by side. Like people do when words can't carry the weight. Finally, I spoke. You think the house is what's breaking you, I said slowly. But the cracks started long before this. I didn't make them. I just stopped filling them in for you. His shoulders dropped. I made mistakes, he whispered. I nodded. So did I. I should have come to you sooner. No, I said. You should have come to me honestly. We sat like that for a long time. Then he asked, softer now, what happens next? I don't know, I said. You have options, but I won't choose for you. He stood slowly. Will you ever forgive me? I looked at him, not cruelly, not kindly, just clearly. Forgiveness isn't the issue, I said. Trust is. He nodded. Not in agreement, but in recognition. Then he walked back to his car. I stood there until the taillights disappeared. Back inside, I wrote another line in the blue notebook. 8. People don't collapse because of consequences. They collapse because they were never taught to stand without you. I closed the book. And for the first time in a very long while, I didn't feel like someone's mother. I just felt like myself. 3 days passed before he came again. No warning this time. Just the sound of a car pulling into my driveway and his shadow pausing at the porch like a boy trying to gauge if his mother was still angry. He knocked once. I opened the door and didn't step aside. I won't stay long, Adam said. He looked tired. Not performatively tired, honestly worn. The kind of fatigue that comes when there's nothing left to defend. I just wanted to talk, he added. I looked at him carefully, then nodded once and let the screen door ease open. He didn't head to the living room like he used to. He stood in the hallway, unsure of where he belonged. That was new. I gestured to the kitchen table. He sat down like it was borrowed space. Coffee? I asked. He looked surprised, then nodded. Yes, please. I poured 2 cups, no sugar, no cream, just plain, like always. He cradled the mug with both hands before he spoke. I've been thinking, he said, about everything, about how I've been showing up, or not showing up. I sat across from him but didn't reply. He continued. I keep trying to find a version of this where I didn't screw it all up. But no matter how I turn it, it's still the same story. Still, I said nothing. I think I got used to the idea that you'd always be there, that no matter how far I pushed, you'd still catch me, and I confused your silence with permission. I took a sip of coffee. It had cooled a little. He looked down. I didn't come to ask for money, or to beg you to stop the foreclosure. I know it's not about that anymore. Or maybe it never was. I raised my eyes. So, why are you here? I asked. I don't know, he said. Maybe because I miss being someone you believed in. That stopped me. He wasn't asking for a loan. He was asking for a mirror. Belief isn't something you inherit, I said softly. You earn it, and you lost it when you started treating me like an extension of your convenience. He nodded slowly. But I came anyway, he said, because I didn't know who else to be honest with. We sat in silence for a while. Not the angry kind, the kind that listens. I think I was embarrassed, he admitted, to let you see how much I don't have it together. Kim always needed me to look in control. The kids too. But you, he looked up. You remember who I was before I pretended. Yes, I said. And you weren't ashamed then? He smiled faintly. No, I wasn't. The clock ticked. Somewhere outside, a car door slammed. Adam leaned forward. If I lose the house, he said, if everything collapses, would you still let me come here sometimes? Not to stay, just to sit, like we're doing now. I didn't answer right away. My throat tightened, not from sadness, from something else. I don't know, I said. Ask me again when you stop measuring my love in what you need from me. He swallowed hard, then nodded, like he understood. I'll go, he said, standing. But thank you for not slamming the door. He walked out quietly. This time, he didn't wait to see if I watched him leave. After he was gone, I sat a while longer at the table. Then I opened the blue notebook and wrote 9. Some apologies come without the word sorry. You hear them anyway. I closed the book gently. The air in the kitchen didn't feel heavy anymore, just quiet, and not every silence needs to be filled. It was a Tuesday when I made the decision. No thunder, no epiphany, no dramatic phone call. Just a breeze through the open kitchen window and the sound of my neighbor's wind chimes. I was slicing an apple when it settled in me. I didn't want the house. Not out of guilt, not out of mercy, but because I'd finally stopped needing the house to prove anything. I didn't need to hold it over their heads. I didn't need to keep it as a symbol of consequence. I didn't even need it as compensation. I just needed peace, and the house didn't give me that. Ownership, yes. Leverage, yes. But not peace. So I sat down with a notepad and started writing. Options. Sell it, cash out the equity, what little there was. Let it foreclose formally, walk away, no rescue. Offer Adam the chance to buy it from me at a stripped-down price, with conditions. Donate it to a housing co-op and be done with all of them. Each option came with a consequence. Each one told a different story about who I was becoming. I stared at the page for a long time. Then, slowly, I crossed out the first and second options. Too cold. Too final. The fourth I left alone, but underlined. The third, I circled. Not because I'd chosen it yet, but because I wanted to know how it would feel to offer something. Not from love, not from fear, but from balance. If I offered Adam a path forward, it would not be out of softness. It would be a contract. A contract that named things plainly, that protected me, that required change. No more co-signing, no more just this once. No more loans without ledgers. A clean transaction. He would have to qualify for it on paper, just like anyone else. Prove income, prove intent. And if he couldn't, well, then that was that. Later that afternoon, I called Mrs. Lee again. I want to draw up a conditional purchase agreement, I said. From me to my son. For the house. She paused. Are you sure? No, I said, but I'm ready. We met 2 days later. She helped me draft the offer. Sale price, $390,000, slightly under market, but still a fair sum. Down payment, 10%, due within 14 days. Financing must be secured without co-signature from me. Deadline, 45 days. Failure to close, automatic forfeiture of ownership. I read the document twice. It felt clean, not generous, not cruel, just precise. We notarized it. That night, I sat in my chair by the window, watching the lights go on in other people's houses. I didn't feel righteous. I didn't feel soft. I felt still. The next morning, I drove the envelope to Adam's work myself. I didn't go inside. I asked the receptionist to place it on his desk. Inside the envelope, a note. This is not a gift. This is a chance. If you want it, meet the terms. If not, I'll handle the rest. Mom. I didn't sign it with love. Not because it wasn't there, but because love didn't belong on a transaction anymore. Later that evening, my phone rang. It was Rebecca. I saw the paper on Dad's desk, she said. He didn't think I would, but I read it. And? I think it's the kindest thing you could have done. It's not about kindness, I said. It's about clarity. She was quiet for a moment. Clarity is kind too, she said. We hung up, and I added one more line to the blue notebook. 10. Sometimes mercy wears a suit and carries clauses. And that's still mercy. I closed the book. Decision made. And for once, it didn't feel like I'd given something away. It felt like I'd kept something for myself. I called Mrs. Lee again. Not about the house this time, Not about Adam. I said, I'd like to update my will. She paused, not out of surprise, but out of respect. You want to come in? No, I said. I want you to come here. I'd rather sign it where I live. She agreed. The next afternoon, she arrived with her briefcase and a neutral blazer, her reading glasses clipped to a silver chain around her neck. She moved through my front hallway like someone who understood what silence was for. We sat at the dining table. I've brought a draft, she said, laying the papers in front of me. Standard structure, adjusted as per our last conversation, but let's go through it line by line. We did. It was a quiet hour. Only the sound of paper being turned and her voice reading out formal phrases like being of sound mind and body and last will and testament. No poetry, just law, just facts. I listened to each clause and weighed it not by emotion, but by truth. The previous version of my will, drafted 7 years ago, had left the majority of my estate to Adam, with smaller amounts assigned to the grandchildren. Back then, I believed that naming him as primary heir was the natural order. That a child inherits from a parent like the moon pulls tide from sea. But I had since learned, biology is not character. Habit is not trust. I'd asked Mrs. Lee to change it. Now my new will read, the house, if still owned, to be sold, with profits divided equally between my 3 grandchildren at age 25, placed in independent trusts with no parental access. My savings and investments to be split. 70% to Rebecca, 30% to a local foundation supporting adult literacy, one I'd volunteered with for 15 years. Adam to receive 1 item, a photograph, the one of him and his father, taken the day he graduated college. Would you like to add a letter? Mrs. Lee asked gently. Many people do. Something personal? No, I said. The silence will say more than the words ever could. She nodded. Understood. We signed everything. 2 witnesses, both neutral, both kind. Then she notarized the pages, clipped them into a folder, and handed me my copy. You've done something many people avoid their whole lives, she said as she packed up. You've named your truth. On paper. I had to, I said. They've spent years writing over mine. She smiled, not wide, but warm. When she left, I placed the folder in the safe beside Henry's will and our marriage license. Everything tidy. Everything accounted for. Then I sat at the kitchen table and looked at the old will, still in its envelope, still bearing Adam's name like it was inevitable. I didn't rip it. I placed it in a new envelope. Wrote 1 word on the front. Revised. Put it in the drawer beneath the tea bags and the matches. That evening, I cooked without thinking. Lentils, garlic, a bit of cumin. Food that filled the room with warmth, even if no one else would eat it. Afterward, I poured myself a glass of water and walked into the guest room. Opened the closet. There, on the shelf, was a small box. Rebecca had once given it to me. Painted it herself. Inside, odds and ends. A charm bracelet I never wore. A letter she wrote at age 9. You are the strongest woman I know. A packet of tea, she'd said, was for hard days. I added 1 thing to the box. A copy of the new will, labeled, in case they question. I closed the lid. That night, I wrote in the blue notebook. 11. A legacy isn't what you leave behind. It's what you stop allowing while you're still here. Then I went to bed and slept without waking. The 45 days were nearly up. 43, to be exact. I hadn't heard from Adam in 2 weeks. Not a call, not a knock, not a message. The silence didn't scare me. I filled the days with rhythm. Mornings in the garden, pruning the roses back again. Afternoons walking the neighborhood, head up, steps steady. I saw people look. Some waved, some didn't. I kept walking anyway. The blue notebook stayed open on the kitchen table. I'd stopped writing in it daily. Now I only wrote when something sharpened inside me, when a moment earned its place. The last line sat alone for days. A legacy isn't what you leave behind. It's what you stop allowing while you're still here. On the 43rd day, he came. No warning, just a soft knock, like someone testing if they still belonged. I opened the door. He held a folder in one hand. No briefcase, no bravado. His eyes didn't dart. They held mine. "I have the down payment," he said. I stepped back. "Come in." He walked in like a guest. Not a son. Not today. We sat at the table. He placed the folder between us. "I couldn't get a full loan," he said. "Not yet. I don't qualify for the full amount without Kim's income. But I can cover the 10%. He slid a check across the table. I didn't touch it. "And the rest?" He took a breath. "A credit union is reviewing a secondary application. I have a cosigner this time." I raised an eyebrow. He added, "Not you." I nodded. Terms were clear. He hesitated. "It's a friend, someone I've known a long time. They know the risk." "Do you?" I asked. He looked down at his hands. "I do now." Silence stretched between us, not heavy, just full. "I don't expect you to believe me," he said finally, "but I'm not trying to manipulate anything. I'm trying to start again, from zero, if I have to." I leaned back. "This isn't zero. This is the bill you ran up. This is the door you kicked every time you needed comfort and didn't want to say please." "I know," he said quietly. I let the check sit between us for a few more moments. Then I asked, "Why do you still want the house?" He blinked. "What do you mean?" "I mean, after all of it, why fight to keep that specific place?" He sat back, rubbed the back of his neck. "I think because I thought if I lost the house, I'd lose the last piece of the story we built. Even if most of it was fiction." That answer surprised me. He continued, "I didn't come here to beg, and if I can't close in time, I'll accept whatever comes. I just wanted you to see that I'm trying, not for the house, for me." I finally picked up the check, held it to the light. "Real." I nodded. "I'll deposit this today, and I'll notify the lawyer to begin the escrow process. But if the rest doesn't come through, I'll walk," he finished. "No protest, no excuses." I nodded again. He stood slowly. At the door, he paused. "Would you ever want to see the kids again?" I met his eyes. "That depends on whether they're brought here with honesty or as currency." He didn't flinch. "I understand." "Do you?" "I'm starting to." He left with his hands empty. I stayed at the door for a while, watching the street. Then I returned to the kitchen and wrote one more line in the blue notebook. 12. Power isn't in the outcome. It's in knowing you'll be fine either way. The check was on the table. Not a promise, just proof that the door was finally swinging both ways. The sale went through on the 46th day. One day late, but I allowed it, not as a gift, as a decision. The final payment arrived via wire transfer. The escrow officer called me personally. "All funds have cleared," she said. "Ownership will transfer as of midnight." I thanked her, hung up, and stared at the small slip of paper I'd printed for myself. Final sale price: $390,000 minus fees and costs. $382,672.84. New owner of record, Adam Moore. I folded the page once and placed it in the same folder as the blue notebook. There was no ceremony, no celebration. just paperwork, signed in silence. He hadn't come in person. He didn't need to. He sent a short message through the lawyer. "Thank you for the opportunity." I didn't reply. I didn't need to. The next morning, I stood at the kitchen window, holding my mug, watching the wind shift through the trees. The house felt the same, but I didn't. Something inside me had resettled, like an organ that had always been out of place had finally returned to where it belonged. The doorbell rang at 10:12 a.m. I opened it to find Rebecca. She wasn't smiling, but her face was open. She held a brown paper bag in one hand. I brought muffins. I stepped aside. We sat at the table with warm bread and coffee. Nothing was said for the first few minutes. Then she spoke. "I know it's over," she said, "and I know you probably want to move on, but I just wanted to say, I saw it. All of it. How hard you tried. How clear you were." I didn't answer right away. She looked down at her mug. "Dad's still bruised. Pride more than anything. But something's different. He doesn't talk about you like a safety net anymore. More like a lesson." I raised my eyebrows. "An expensive one," she added, with a soft smile. I gave a small nod. He asked if I wanted to bring the kids by. I told him no. Not yet. I think he understood. She reached into her bag and pulled out a small, wrapped package. "I know you hate gifts," she said, "but this one's just paper." I opened it. Inside, a notebook, blue cover, blank pages. "I figured," she said, "you might need a new one." I smiled. "A real one." "I do," I said. We ate slowly. No rush. When she left, she hugged me. Not out of pity, out of recognition. After she'd gone, I walked to the desk, opened the drawer, pulled out the old blue notebook. One last time, I opened it. The pages were nearly full now, dozens of entries, each one a breadcrumb out of silence. I turned to the final empty page and wrote, 13. You can love people and still leave them behind, especially the versions of them that refuse to meet you halfway. Then I closed it and opened the new one. The first page was crisp, untouched. I wrote one sentence. "This is mine." That evening, I made soup, lit a candle, took a bath. Not out of sadness, not out of grief, but out of relief. I didn't tell anyone, didn't post, didn't explain. But if you're reading this, and something in you ached when you saw that title, or nodded when you reached a certain sentence, then maybe this story was never just mine. Maybe it was yours too. And if it was, then let this be your permission to stop explaining, to stop shrinking, to say calmly and clearly, enough. If this story meant something to you, share it with someone who needs to feel less alone. Leave a comment, tag a friend, let them know. There is no age limit on clarity, and there is nothing selfish about peace.